Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the G1 Beast Wars 2021 reissue of Maximal Rattrap. So as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging. And right up top you have Rattrap, you've got Beast Wars, you have Quick Attack Action, and he does come in a blister pack. So not a lot going on here except that big dino eye. And you can see that he does turn into a robot spy, which is cool. And you have all this verbiage on the back, and I'll pause for a second if you want to read that. And then down here he has his bio and tech specs. Clip and save if you choose to do so. So you have his strength, you have his intelligence, you have his speed and his firepower. And he does have a secret weapon location. He is Rattrap. And then you have the instructions over here. Clip and save them if you choose to do so, or just leave them on the box. And then down here you have your manufacturing information and all of your warnings. So you do have your G1 Beast Wars sad baby. So that is it for the packaging. So let's go ahead and see what came inside that package. Behold everything that comes inside that package with Rattrap, and we'll start as we always do with a little sheet of instructions. They are conveniently folded for easy disposal, and we'll move on to that gun. And we'll take a look here at this gun. It's nothing real exciting. It's pretty basic, just molded in brown plastic. Has an okay amount of molded in detail. There's really no paint apps on it. It does, however, come apart. So you take it apart, you pull it apart like this, and then you can store it inside the wrap mode for easy storage, which I do like. It's very nice. But other than that, that's really it as far as the gun goes, and there are no more accessories. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and take a look at Mr. Rattrap. So let's go ahead and bring Rattrap in for his close-up, and we'll start as we always do with that head sculpt. And yeah, it's an alright head sculpt. I mean, I like the silver on top of the head, and that's definitely a Rattrap kind of face. And he's got those nice big red Rattrap eyes. And then we'll come on down, and there is his legit rat head. And then down here, you can see the crotch and the tops of those legs. They're just molded in brown. Not a whole lot going on with those legs or that crotch area. And then moving on down to the shins. I think the shins look pretty good with that silver paint on them. It gives it a little bit of a juxtaposition to the brown, and then you've got those little tiny Rattrap robot feet. And then you've got the regular rat feet there. And then taking a look at the arms, same thing here. You've got a little bit of silver on there to offset the browns and the grays. And this kind of reminds me of Pickle Rick from Rick and Morty. So for those of you who've seen it, you understand. Those of you who haven't, just disregard what I'm saying here. And then coming around to the back, it's just a whole lot of flayed out rat. We'll see all this in the alt mode. And you do have the rat tail sticking out back here. This is actually the mechanism for transformation, which is what these gears are up here in his shoulder area. But at the bottom of that rat tail, you do have some decent texturing in that plastic. So overall, I guess, yeah, it's a rat tail. It works. And then you got those cute little rat feet. And that's pretty much it as far as details go. So let's go ahead and talk about articulation. And as far as articulation goes, we'll start as we always do with that head. And that head's on a ball joint, so you can pretty much take it in any direction you want to with a few degrees of movement. And you can take it all the way around if you choose to do so. And coming down to the arms, the shoulders are on ball joints, so you can bring them up that far. And you can bring them around pretty much any degree you want because of those ball joints. You just need to be aware of the rat hanging off his back. That'll limit your movement. Then when you get to those elbows, the same thing. You have those elbows on ball joints, and you can get just over 90 degrees on those, and that also doubles as your bicep rotation, so you can angle those around at any angle you want to. Nothing at the wrists, and nothing at the waist. just simply due to the way he was designed. And coming down here to the hips, because these hips are on ball joints, you do get a little bit of thigh rotation as well built in. And then as far as splits go, splits are okay. You're not going to get a full Van Damme out of this guy, but it wouldn't matter even if you did because of that rat butt hanging off the bottom. And kicking forward, he can kick forward pretty darn far. Unfortunately, kicking backward is limited because of the rat hanging off back there, so you're not going to get a lot of back kick. And then down here at the knee is on a ball joint as well, so you can get just over 90 on that bend. And then this also doubles as a point of rotation that you can utilize if you want to. You don't have anything at the feet, but because of the ball joints in those knees, you can actually bend those inward or outward a little bit, so you can use that almost as an ankle rotation if you choose to do so. Also, you can bend the knees back a little bit. This guy has a little bit of a high center of gravity, and he's got some stability issues, so the ability to bend those knees backwards is certainly helpful. He's not the easiest guy to stand up, so it helps to have those knees bending backwards. So that's it for the articulation. So let's go ahead and get into the transformation. Just before we jump into that transformation, I did want to mention real quick the accessory. There's not a whole lot you can do with it, but you take that gun, you've got a port in the hand, you've got a peg in the gun, and you can plug it into his hand, and then he's ready to shoot some bad guys. Your only other option really is you can use the left hand for the same thing as well. So that pretty much covers the accessories. Now, the reason I talk about it now is because we're going to talk about that weapon storage. And if you look at this gun, let me get him standing up here. Stay. Thank you. Now, if you look at this gun, you see that it does split. So you can just take those two pieces, and then each of those pieces is going to store on either side inside of his rat body, just in these pockets right down here and right down here. So what you need to do is just take the pieces of the gun, line them up to the pockets, and then just give them a little push and tuck them away. Just like this. And then you can do the same thing with the other side. You just give it a little push, tuck it away, and then you've got your weapon storage all taken care of. And this is really nice. This is nice and snug in these two pockets right here. So they're not going to come out. It's good, convenient weapon storage whenever you want to keep him in the rat mode and you don't want to lose the gun. So for transformation, you're just going to take these arms and you're going to bring those arms down and you're going to line the fist ports up to these little pegs. And it should look just like that. And then do the same thing on the other side. Just bring that arm down and then peg it over. And then once you've done that, really everything else is going to happen because of this tail. So this tail has that transformation mechanism in it. So you're going to push this tail down, and as you push that tail down, you can see what's happening. So I'm going to give it a little bit of an assist here, but the head is going to come up, the feet are going to collapse, and for the most part, you have transformation complete now. The only thing that we need to address is those legs, the robot legs. So there's really nowhere to peg them in. So really all you're going to do is you're just going to tuck them nicely and neatly away, just up inside the rat butt. So just get them out of the way so they're not in the way of the feet. And then you just adjust the little rat feet and adjust the rat tail. And there you have Rattrap in his alt mode. And that's all there is to it. So while we have him in this mode, let's go ahead and cover those details, and we'll bring him in for his close-up. And you can see that rat head with those rat teeth. I think for the most part it looks pretty good. And then you've got this nice texturing on the body. The molded in texturing is nice, and I think the paint apps look pretty good for the most part. And then coming around, seeing him from the side, I think for the most part, like I said, it all looks good. He does fall apart a little bit in the back, but that's okay for a couple decades old figure, and most people don't pose their figures from the back anyway. But yeah, I think he pulls it off. It scares my wife, so I think that passes the test as well. She does not like the way this figure looks. There he is from the top, there he is from the bottom. And you can see just a whole lot of yoga pose under there. And as far as articulation goes, It's pretty limited. You've got these little rat feet on ball joints, so you can move them around a little bit if you want. You can flip them to the back, and you can do the same thing with the front rat feet. And then you can move this tail. You could tuck that tail between his legs if you want to, or you can lift that tail up high, totally up to you. But that pretty much covers articulation in the alt mode, so let's go ahead and get into those comparisons. For our first comparison, here we see G1 Beast Wars Rattrap next to G1 Beast Wars Optimus Primal. Both of these are 2021 reissues. Next up, here we see G1 Rattrap next to his more contemporary comparison. This is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Rattrap. And for our last alt mode comparison, here we see the G1 Rattrap next to the Transformers War for Cybertron Leader Class Earthriser Kingdom, take your pick, Optimus Prime. That's it for alt mode comparisons, so let's get Rattrap transformed back into his bot mode. Mr. Rattrap, guess what time it is? That's right, it is time to maximize, sir. So let's get you back into your bot mode. All you need to do for this is really everything happens in this tail. So the only thing you're going to need to do to start off is get these legs out of your way. So go ahead and bring those legs out. So they're just kind of dangling like that, and that in itself looks pretty disturbing. Oh my gosh, it's a rat with legs. And now everything else is just going to be activated by this tail. So when you start, you're going to bring this tail up to a point where it feels like a hard stop, and then you're just going to push just past that. And it's actually going to activate that mechanism that's going to essentially finish the transformation for you. So you can give it a little bit of an assist here by pushing things out of the way and giving everything a little shove. But that's pretty much it. As far as the transformation goes, you can tuck this tail back down, and then your last step really is to just unpeg these arms, and they can be a little bit of a pain because they do peg in nice and firmly. So, you know, kind of get your finger in there and give them a pull and do something along those lines. Now, these guns back here, I'm not going to pull them out right now, but these gun pieces, they can be a pain unless you've got fingernails. So I've used just a little tool that I have, just a soft tool so I don't scuff anything up, to pry those out, but I don't need to bring them out right now, so I'm just going to leave them where they are. But yeah, that is it for the transformation on Rattrap. So now what we can do is just jump right into those bot mode comparisons. For our first bot mode comparison, here we see the G1 Rattrap next to the G1 Optimus Primal. Here we see G1 Rattrap next to his more contemporary counterpart. This is the War for Cybertron Kingdom Core Class Rattrap. And for our last bot mode comparison, here we see G1 Rattrap next to the Transformers War for Cybertron Earthriser Kingdom, take your pick, Leader Class Optimus Prime. That wraps up the bot mode comparisons, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. So let's go ahead and talk about the G1 Beast Wars 2021 reissue Rattrap. In short, if you are nostalgic and you didn't get a chance to pick this guy up a couple of decades ago like I did, this may be a good opportunity for you to do so. However, he does not measure up to today's modern standards at all, so if you do not have any nostalgic feelings for this figure, I think he's an easy skip. Now, all that being said, let's go ahead and quantify this guy a little bit, and we'll start as we always do with the aesthetics. As I said, from a nostalgia factor, he's a G1 Beast Wars toy. He looks just like he did a couple of decades ago when this toy came out, so I guess for its time it looked pretty good, and I do think that the rat mode definitely looks way better than the bot mode does. The bot mode doesn't look terrible, it's just a whole lot of really obvious rat hanging off everywhere, and it does detract from the overall look. But rat mode looks good. It's enough to scare my wife. I appreciate it. So looking at it purely through the lens of nostalgia, I'm going to give this guy an 8 out of 10 on overall aesthetics. Now moving on to the articulation, he's actually surprisingly articulated. The biggest detriment to this figure is all that rat hanging off the back. That limits his back kick, that limits his ability to bring his arms back. So anything you're going to do that involves moving a limb backwards, you're not going to do it. So everything else, he has good articulation. I mean, you're going to be able to get him in pretty much any pose that you want, barring what I'm going to talk about in quality here, as long as your joints are nice and tight. So for the most part, I think an articulation for a figure and a design this age, I think it's pretty good. I'm going to give the articulation an 8 out of 10. Now, moving on to accessories. Yeah, even by mid-1990s standards, this gun, this firearm that he comes with just fills me with meh. It's brown. There's no paint on it. It's kind of lame. And yeah, it doesn't do much for me. So I'm not really impressed by the accessories or the accessory for this figure. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. That's taking into account the price point and taking into account the nostalgia factor. And I think 7 out of 10 is being a little generous here on accessories. Now, moving on to the quality. This is where I have my biggest issues. I will say right off the bat, he came with everything he was supposed to. He came with his one accessory. I don't have any issues with the paint. I don't have any issues with molded parts. All that is great. But he has loose joints, and not only that, but he has loose joints where they matter. And yes, I can fix those, but coming out of the box, having loose joints at the knees and loose joints at the hips makes this guy really difficult to pose. I don't know if it's just my copy, or I don't know if it's systemic for all of these Rattraps, just due to rerunning some old tooling and maybe you have some mold degradation. I don't know. But I'm disappointed in the overall quality with this guy, even at this price point. So I'm giving him a 7 out of 10 in overall quality. Moving on to our last point, which is value. This one is going to get a little interesting here. So on the shelf, I believe these are Walmart exclusives, at least in North America they are. And on the shelf, they're $20 and up, $20 and up for this figure. There is no way. I can't accept that. That's too much. You can find them, at least at the time of this recording, I assume while supplies last. You can find them on Walmart.com online. You can find this figure for $10 US. I think that is a much better price point. I think it, lines up to what you get with this figure. So if you can find him online for that price, I think it's pretty good. I wouldn't pay retail for this guy, not at all. And I certainly wouldn't pay, any scalper prices on eBay or anything like that. Number one, this guy's a bit of a shelf warmer. You're going to find him just about anywhere you go if you live in North America and you go to a Walmart, and you can find him pretty cheaply on Walmart.com. So if you can find him for the $10, yeah, that's not bad. So I'm going to give this guy at the $10 price point an overall value of 8 out of 10. Now that brings us to our total here. He gets a total out of 50. Rattrap gets 38 points out of 50, which is 76%. So unfortunately, this is kind of a low-scoring figure. There's, other than that nostalgia factor, he doesn't have a lot going for him, especially at retail price. So if you can find him on the clearance price for $10 US, yeah, maybe, but not retail. So with that being said, it's going to wrap up the review. I hope you got some good information out of this. And as we always say, if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave some comments if you want. Let me know what you think about these guys. I've really enjoyed the G1 reissue of Optimus Primal and Megatron. And I'm just not super excited about this guy. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up until we see you guys in the next review. Take care.